Make sure your insurance doesn't come up short. Get gap cover with ALA. For more information, follow the links in the description.
Hello everybody, here in Britain summer has finally arrived, and with a vengeance. Temperatures this week are north of 30 degrees, and before my friends in Texas start scoffing, in Fahrenheit that's around about 200, or gas mark 7. This is the kind of condition described by British people exclusively as scorchio. And yet, do not think it is the heat stroke talking when I say I think this, the Kia PV5, a Korean-built electric people carrier, might be one of my favourite cars of the year. Curious? Well, find out in today's episode of JayEmm on Cars. Can someone get me a drink, please? Now, much of my delight with this car is derived from its form factor. You see, when I was growing up in a time period that today's children brutally refer to as the late 1900s, people carriers were very much a thing. Now, you could argue their heyday had already passed by then, but they certainly hadn't been replaced by SUVs as they were to be around a decade later. And the format has got so much going for it. After all, the footprint isn't big, yet the car is. Take this, it's the size of a BMW X3, at least in terms of what it occupies on the floor. And yet inside, you could have it as we have here, with space for 5, and a frankly ludicrous amount of boot, or clip in extra seats, and you've got yourself a 7-seater still with space. This would be a perfect taxi, school run car, do anything, go anywhere vehicle for an awful lot of people. Because let's be honest here, not many people actually go off-roading. What they do though is go shopping, go to the airport, go to the park. And for that kind of stuff, this is better than any SUV I can possibly imagine. And should this not be quite the right vehicle for you, well, it's highly configurable. In fact, this, the passenger variant, is one of 4 different ways you can have your PV5. There is also a cargo van, a crew van, and a wheelchair accessible variant as well. And in case you think this is something new for Kia, it's not. They've been building commercial vehicles very successfully for a long time. They just haven't sold them to us. And good news for those who've lusted after a VW Transporter or perhaps an ID Buzz, but balk at the price tag, well, this is exceptionally reasonable. With this, the entry-level Essential variant with a 51.5 kilowatt-hour battery coming in at just £33,000. Beyond that, you can then have a larger long-range 71.2 kilowatt-hour variant with a quoted claimed range of 256 miles, and you can also have that in Plus trim too, with extra creature comforts like heated seats, wireless charging, optional heat pump, also vehicle-to-load capability, meaning if you do want to go camping with it, you can plug in your kettle, stove, or a variety of other things. It's an incredibly versatile piece of kit. And I happen to think it's quite good looking too. Sure, very simple. After all, it's just a funky van. But I like that about it. It's got kinda Matchbox car made real vibes about it. There's an awful lot of room in the back here. I wouldn't mind a panoramic roof, sadly not available, but I love anything with sliding doors, and there's plenty of space, plenty of legroom, and there is storage everywhere in this thing. In fact, in the driver's door, you've got, I think, about 4 different levels to lose things in, and there's even extra storage below the seat as well, which is nice. Unfortunately, it's not a perfect score. There are a few things I don't like, including the placement of the charging port here at the front, which means for the vast majority of charging stations, you have to drive the vehicle in forwards. And though it's not exactly enormous, neither is it small. This I do not like, and to be honest, this is always going to be a problem with EVs, particularly if you want to get a high-speed charge into this, and regardless of battery variant, it can take up to 150 kilowatt of charge. It is going to make things potentially awkward, particularly for getting out. Fortunately, visibility is generally fairly good. In fact, it's most compromised here because of the way this is all laid out. In spite of the fact you have got a little quarter light here, there is still a lot you feel like you can't see. By and large, though, the driving experience itself is actually pretty decent, marred only by their new infotainment system. I'm just not fond of it, and that's a shame because historically I've always quite liked the way that Kia have done stuff. They haven't overcomplicated things, and in truth they haven't really here, but the menus aren't particularly intuitive, and when it comes to all of the ADAS stuff, yes, I know it is regulated that it turns on every time you start the vehicle, but most manufacturers have found a nice easy way for you to turn it off. Here, even the basic stuff like speed limit warnings, you have to go through several menus to disable it. And though I know, yes, part of that is legally mandated, it definitely could and should be easier. If for no other reason than, like a lot of other vehicles, it does get it wrong a lot of the time, meaning what it's actually doing is not helping you at all, but instead distracting you. And they've done this for our safety, apparently. Sadly also, the HVAC controls are now entirely digital, though happily we do at least have physical controls on the wheel for your important stuff like volume, track skip, and you can at least turn off the lane keep assist, which I'm not fond of. You've got different driving modes, but there isn't a sport one, and frankly there's no need for it in something like this, and of course performance is of the modest variety. With just 120 horsepower on tap, the thing weighs 2 tons, and 0 to 62 here is done in just under 13 seconds. Blistering, it is not. But it's still kind of fun. I like it. However, it is a bit boomy, and there are a few noises you get in this, particularly over rougher surfaces, that do reverberate throughout the cabin. That's unfortunate, and something I think Kia should look into. I think those with sensitive hearing, like my good buddy Will, who helped with the drive-bys, might be put off for that and that alone. And that's a shame, because for somebody like him that likes things cool, funky and electric, but every now and again needs to go to a gig with loads of stuff, this could be the perfect antidote to his Dacia Spring.
And I'd love to say that was a minor gripe from a very particular person, but the more time I spent with the PV5, the more it began to annoy me too. At particular speeds and over certain road surfaces, the noise inside was almost unbearable. And doing some research, customers seem split, with some not knowing what people are talking about and others ready to hand their vehicle back because of this issue alone. Clearly, there is something wrong in the design of the PV5 that means at certain speeds and in certain conditions, this is a problem. And if you're going to put children in this for any amount of time, trust me, it's going to bug them. It upsets me, and I think in the rear, it's even worse. It's a sound similar to having one window open in the front and none in the back, a kind of buffeting or reverberation. It is low in frequency and so very, very disturbing, and over a long distance I think would also be very tiring. This is highly unusual for Kia, and hopefully a fix will appear soon. That or an aftermarket solution will present itself, and it would be a real shame if this issue alone stopped sales of the PV5. With the 7-seater variant on the way soon, this could and should be a great seller, and it would be absolutely tragic for a daft issue like this to get in the way of it.
That aside, I think what Kia have built here is the dark night of family vehicles. This is not the car that people want, but it is the car that people need. And priced keenly as this is, I think it's a very, very good option for a family that may be expanding and needs one vehicle to do absolutely everything. This will do the school run, the tip run, the airport run, and the park run. Because that's what MPVs do. Sod your X3, I'd have one of these. Now if you don't mind, I'm going to go and hide, because the aircon works quite well. Thanks to Kia for lending this to me, and to you for watching. Bye-bye. Cold air, cold air, cold air.